Okay, great. Okay, hello everyone. Oksana here. So if you're watching this video, let me know where you're tuning in from. And just a free reminder, last time we did this live class, live Q&A, we typically do it on Facebook, but it was about 2 months ago. So that's why if you have questions for us about autoimmune disease reversal, this is opportunity for you to ask those questions live. And I am streaming, we do have a Facebook group, a public Facebook group where I'm streaming this class for other people who want to watch the replay. And I believe that you should be able to see my video right now. Can somebody let me know in the chat box that you can see me on the screen? So most people who join this meeting, you are muted because I'm going to start with a presentation, but I also will take questions at the end. It's going to be about an hour-long presentation. And again, we're going to cover different topics, but I think it's going to be really helpful to you in terms of autoimmune diseases. And Gina told me that she can see me. Thank you so much, Gina, for letting me know. Okay, great. So before we start this presentation, those of you who just joined in, let me know what is it you need help with your health. And sometimes we email you, or sometimes we may text you directly from our 586 number to see what we can help you with. So as always, you can let me know what is it you need help with so we can tailor this presentation to your specific case. And sometimes we do have clients joining these classes. Again, these are free classes, which is always great to see some of our clients. So I do like to remove my video so we can focus on the class, and then we'll take questions at the end, okay? And so I'm gonna remove the video. Okay, so Jamie said she doesn't hear audio, and I do see that my audio is connected. Let's see, can somebody else let me know if you can hear me? Let me put the video back on. Let me know if you can hear me. Is somebody else in this? I do see more people are joining in. Let me admit more people. Can somebody let me know that you can hear me as well? Gina told me I can hear you. Thank you so much, Gina. Jamie probably needs
Hello?
to. Yes, I can hear somebody who just joined the meeting. I heard somebody who joined the meeting, so make sure that you mute yourself. But if you have questions, you can put your questions in the chat box. And thank you, Chrissy, for letting me know. I do see more people are joining in. Let me just let Jamie know that she may have to connect her audio. Or you may have to unmute yourself, actually. Or unmute the audio. Maybe you have to unmute the audio. Yes, I can hear more people joining in.
Hi.
Yes, hello. Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Yes, I can hear you, Julie. Yes, I can hear you.
Can you hear Nicole?
Yes, I can hear everyone. But again, please mute yourself. We'll take questions at the end. So please keep yourself muted so the presentation is not interrupted, but we'll take questions at the end. I can't hear everyone. Yes. Okay, we're going to start with the presentation. Again, I want to start with the class, and then we'll take your questions at the end. But in the chat box, you can type, you can click on the chat box and type what do you need help with. But otherwise, you can also unmute yourself at the end of this presentation, and then we can take questions. Does that sound good to everyone? So we'll take your questions at the end. I'll try to keep it short, okay? So let me remove again the video. In this class, we're going to talk about autoimmune disease reversal. And as I mentioned earlier, the last time we did this class was 2 months ago. So this is an opportunity for you to ask us questions, but I will email the replay to everyone who joined the meeting. So make sure that you watch until the end. So the first question I want to address, we're going to explain autoimmune diseases. We're going to talk about inflammation, all in this presentation. But the first thing I want to talk about is how do we reverse autoimmune diseases? That's a common questions people ask us. There's some kind of line in this slide. I don't know how that got in there. So the first thing is you need to have the information, but the second step when it comes to reversing autoimmune diseases is the actions you take on the information. So that's where we customize your disease reversal program to your specific health status and goal. So as you have seen, we have people who come to us with different types of autoimmune diseases, including Crohn's, colitis, arthritis, Hashimoto's, which is attacks your thyroid. So that's why we customize your recovery plan. And then the third step is we do actually review your symptoms and your progress and everything you're eating and doing every single day. So if you're working with a functional doctor or nutritionist, are they reviewing your symptoms and your meals every single day to make sure that they're either making adjustments to your recovery plan or they're helping you isolate what's causing your inflammation levels to stay? And then the first step is majority of our clients are seeing results in 30 days. As if you go to a Facebook page, you will see there's hundreds of people we have helped and people are getting results in a matter of days. 7 days, we have people who become symptom-free. In fact, and we have seen clients even reduce the inflammation markers within just the first week in our program working with us. And you can even follow us on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube to get more information, education, and motivation that you need, because on our Facebook and Instagram, we do share more information there. So that's why lifestyle medicine is a solution to all of these autoimmune problems. And as immunology scientists, we have been using lifestyle medicine approach towards autoimmune diseases, but as well as cardiovascular diseases like heart disease, diabetes, kidney failure. And many of our professors at the university were diabetic or they were overweight, and they never talked about nutrition, using nutrition with their patients. So in our mind, we were always thinking that we're getting good education, so diet and lifestyle must not be that important, or else we'll be talking about it. And so it can't be that profound. But the reality is lifestyle and nutrition is the most profound way to be able to, which I'm going to talk about in this presentation, how you can use nutrition to not only repair your immune system, but stop the autoimmune diseases from progressing. So that's why a lot of patients, they actually don't want to take medicine. They don't want to take pills. They cost money and they have side effects. So even if you give patients all the right medication, there's been so much medication that has been created in the last decades, but people are still suffer with heart attacks and strokes, and they need bypass surgery. So that's why the goal is to learn how to use nutrition to actually reverse your diseases, not just manage them. That's why we always address the exercise is not the key. Lifestyle medicine, which is nutrition, is the key, but not exercise or supplements, because you can get all your nutrients from food, not the supplements, and people actually can react to supplements. So that's why the question, how do you have the absolute best health, is you start hanging out with people who have an absolute best health and who are absolute best at what they do. Being the best is an environmental. So that's the reason that if you surround yourself in the environment of people where they are healing and they are recovering, you will get the same results. It's all about getting that. So again, make sure that if you have questions for us, you can put your questions in the chat box and we'll address them. There's some kind of line in my, maybe I wrote that line. Oh, actually, I can undo this. Wait, there's some kind of line in the eraser. Okay, here you go. I erased the line. So let me keep going with the presentation. So what is the immune system? So the immune system is a network of cells and different proteins, and the immune system is there to defend your body against pathogens and infections, and also against cancer. We're going to talk about what happens to you when you get an autoimmune diseases, what goes wrong there. So our immune system, it records every encounter it has with different germs, and it has a library that it can recognize and destroy those microbes when it encounters them. So if you're breastfeeding your baby, your breast milk changes if your baby is exposed to infection, because the immune system selects the right antibodies for wherever infection your baby has. Or if your mother has been exposed to infection, your immune system creates the right antibodies to help you fight the infections. And also mothers who had COVID can pass on those antibodies to their baby. So the baby is immune. That's why it's really an incredible system. And when we talk about reversing autoimmune disease, we're really talking about repairing the immune system. We're not boosting the immune system. You don't want to boost your immune system, because if you boost the immune system, people start getting allergies and sensitivities. So that's why I want to present to you this diagram and this basic and simple model about how the immune system works. So I really want to pay attention to the optimal effectiveness in the middle. And on the left side, you have the internal threats. And then on the right side, you have the external threats. So when you have an underreactive immune system, this is what people who also come to us for help. If you're getting infections, you're not able to recover from COVID, or you keep getting sick with COVID, or you're not able to, you constantly get sick with sinusitis or inflammation, and you have underactive immune system. It can happen due to primary immune deficiency, something that you can be born with. So it usually happens in babies who are born with low immune system, and they have to live in sterile environments. But the most common one is secondary underactive immune system. So how do you get low immune system? You can also get it by taking steroids or some kind of drug that suppresses your immune system. So most people who come to us for help are dealing with secondary immune deficiency that is caused by taking steroids or some kind of medicine that suppresses the entire immune system, which increases your risk of getting cancer and infections. And that's the reason why people who take immunosuppressant drugs, they do get infections that they're not able to recover from, or it increases their risk of cancer. That's why it's important when you're trying to heal yourself from an autoimmune disease, which I assume most of you are here because you have an autoimmune disease. You don't want to just take medicine, but you also want to learn how to give your body the right nutrients to get your immune system to function normally. Okay, so we're repairing the immune system. Did your doctor ever explain that to you, that taking medicine, it's not the solution, and most people don't even get better, which we're going to talk about in this presentation. That's what the immunosuppressant medications are doing. They're suppressing your entire immune system, which causing these negative side effects, including cancer. So that's one thing I wanted to talk to you about, is explain the difference between that. Okay, so that's again underactive immune system, and that can also increase your risk for viruses that have been dormant in your body. So for example, if you had chickenpox when you were a child, and now you're at risk of shingles because the virus can reactivate. Tuberculosis can reactivate, hepatitis can become more active, and long haul COVID, which is what we're seeing, is prolonged state of activity or reactivity. It actually can reactivate if you were sick with COVID before. It's for some people. And that's why we see people who have been sick for a long time with autoimmune disease, who have been on suppressing medications for a long time, who've been taking steroids. Not only can they get increased osteoporosis, but also as well as they can suffer with shingles. So I see more people are joining in the meeting. Let me see. Okay. Just I don't know if anybody can hear the sound, but there's more people joining the meeting. So that's why what you want to do is not just suppress the immune system, but get it to work properly, which we're going to talk about in this class. So we do see people who have had autoimmune disease for a long time, and they're also dealing with shingles. And why they're dealing with shingles? Because they've been on steroids or immunosuppressing medications which causing the reactivation of these viruses. And we do see that with mono and Epstein-Barr virus. So we know that viruses can do this. And we know one of the things that will increase the likelihood of a virus reactivating or bacterial infection, for that matter, is your underactive immune system. That's cancer and reactivation of dormant infections as internal threats. So your immune system should normally be able to fix that. It should be able to help you fight cancer cells, fight infections. But again, if you're taking those medications, which you also have to use nutrition to help your body heal, okay? More people are joining the meeting, which is great. So again, let me see what else I want to talk about this slide is when you have a suppressed immune system, whether you were born with it, whether you were on medications, you're treating your disease with medications, but the side effects again is cancer or getting health problems, more health problems down the road. So the same thing, let's say you want a big dose of steroids for some inflammatory condition. Now you have an increased risk of also getting COVID or fungal infection. The same thing, that's what we just talked about. And what about if you have overactive, if your immune system is overactive? That's why we're seeing, you might be seeing a lot of ads where they tell you buy the supplement to boost your immune system. They're telling supplements boost your immune system. You don't want to be boosting your immune system because it can lead to autoimmune problems, but as well as allergic problems. So there's about 108 autoimmune diseases. As you know, 1 in 5 people have autoimmune disease. So if you don't have an autoimmune disease, you might have someone that you know who has an autoimmune disease. That's why it's so common these days that we're going to talk about what's causing those autoimmune diseases. So if your immune system is not functioning properly, it's reacting to your own body's normal tissue. That's what autoimmune diseases is. So whether you have Hashimoto's, if somebody wants to comment in the chat box, let me know what kind of autoimmune disease you're dealing with, and I can help you explain that or see how we can help you. So again, in terms of Hashimoto's, your immune system is reacting to your thyroid. So it's thinking that your thyroid is a virus. It's attacking your thyroid. So it's mistaking something that's self for non-self. It's thinking it's a pathogen. So the same thing with external threats. Like I said, it's allergies, eczema, food sensitivity. That's what happens when you try to boost your immune system. So you know that everybody always talks about healing your gut. And you have probably heard, take these probiotics, take the supplements to try to heal your gut. That's another thing that I wanted to address in this presentation is you don't just cure diseases with supplements or probiotics. What you want to do, again, is you stop feeding the bad bacteria that overgrows. So that's why I want you to understand this terminology, dysbiosis. What does this really mean, and what it has to do with autoimmune diseases? So when you take what can cause dysbiosis, what can cause gut issues, which can ultimately lead to autoimmune diseases, there's several different factors. Factor number one, if you take antibiotics, let's say you were as a child, you took antibiotics, 7 to 10 day course, one of those antibiotics, it can remove a third of your gut bacteria. And so the first thing that happens when you take antibiotics, or whether you're eating standard American diet, if you're eating food that's high in saturated fat, we're going to talk about that, that's also destroying your gut bacteria. So the first thing that happens is you see reduction. This is a normal microflora on the left, and yes, and on the right you see the pathogenic microflora. So when you take antibiotics, or maybe you eat food that's destroying the gut bacteria, what's happening is the first thing that happens is you see reduction in your good microflora. And that can happen again due to antibiotics. It can happen due to medications. Maybe you took antidepressant medications, even immunosuppressant medications can do that. And the second stage is you see even colonization. Now you see growth of pathogenic microflora. And pathogenic microflora, what it is, it means this bacteria, you can see basically this type of bacteria in the purple, red, and yellow, it's normally found in your gut, but it's low levels. People have even up to 10% of your gut species have C. diff. And as long as it's low levels, it doesn't cause any problems. But when you kill off a lot of healthy bacteria, whether it's through your diet or whether it's through taking medications, antibiotics, what's happening is now your bad bacteria has room to overgrow. The same thing happens with yeast infection. We all have yeast in our digestive tract, and yeast plays an important role in digestion. But when you kill off your healthy bacteria, now the yeast, again, they multiply and they overgrow. And now you have yeast overgrowth. But the problem is lack of healthy species. So what happens, you see even more significant decrease in healthy species, your healthy bacteria, and you also seeing overgrowth of bad bacteria. And that's what creates this imbalance. So actually dysbiosis, it just means imbalance of bacteria. The same thing, SIBO, you have probably heard of SIBO. It's not just overgrowth of bacteria, but it's imbalance of bacteria. So again, how does this happening? Is the food people eat is destroying the gut bacteria, including the alcohol or high saturated fats diets. Everything that they're eating is destroying the gut bacteria, which allows the bad one to grow. So the solution is not just to take probiotics, because even if you take probiotics, but you're not feeding your bacteria properly, it will not overgrow. The yeast will just go back to growing again. That's why getting your nutrition optimized is so important when it comes to healing the gut issues and inflammation, because otherwise the bad bacteria will just continue overgrowing. So that's why we're talking about here is dysbiosis, and like I mentioned earlier, SIBO, which is small intestinal bacterial overgrowth, but it's actually a form of dysbiosis. It's actually undergrowth of healthy species. And again, why is your healthy species are not growing? Probably something that you're eating is keeping the bad bacteria from staying there, and it's not repopulating the good bacteria. So the root cause of dysbiosis is not the overgrowth, it's the undergrowth of healthy species. And this is really important because people come to us complaining of things like yeast overgrowth, or they have SIBO and they ask for the most potent antifungal or antibiotic. And we explain to them that even if you got rid of all the yeast, if you took the supplement to get rid of the yeast, it will just come back if you don't repopulate your gut with healthy species, with the food that you're eating, not just the probiotics that you take. And a lot of people take really high quality probiotics. So the main way we do this, again, is not probiotics. In fact, our clients are reversing the autoimmune diseases and colitis, gastritis, all of these problems by feeding the gut properly, so you stop having the inflammation. So now do you understand what all of that means? So gut issues, again, it's all with what people are eating, and that's causing that inflammation on your gut that spreads systemically. It's not only affecting your dysbiosis, is not only affecting your gut, but it's also affecting your whole body. And we see this really intimate interaction between what's going on with your immune system and what's going on environmentally with your diet, what's going on with your diet and what's going on with your biome and your dysbiosis. That's why it's a root cause of a lot of these autoimmune diseases. But a lot of people make you take a lot of different supplements that you have to take forever. But if you are not reversing your symptoms of autoimmune markers in a matter of 30 days, then definitely your nutrition has to be optimized. Let me see if somebody has questions. Yes, people who are on the call have been diagnosed with Hashimoto's and lupus. And Nicole just mentioned family member with chronic fatigue and reactivated Epstein-Barr virus. Again, it comes back to having low immune system if your viruses are getting activated. And what can suppress the immune system, if you're taking medications for your autoimmune disease, will suppress the immune system, will cause reactivation of a lot of these viruses and infections. And that's what we help people is get your immune system functioning properly. I'm going to share with you some research studies, but you can see how your diet can affect not only your microbiota, which is another term for microbiome, but it can also cause type 1 diabetes and non-alcoholic fatty liver. People are getting fatty liver because also they take steroid medications. We had clients who have been able to reduce them in a matter of days and their liver enzymes normalize. So that's why it affects different types of organs and cells in the body. So in the last 70 years, there has been dramatic increase in the amount of autoimmune diseases. Like you can see here in this diagram, this is a publication that was published. And why are we seeing increase in these autoimmune diseases? Look at the 50s and we look at 2000s, type 1 diabetes, multiple sclerosis, Crohn's disease, asthma, and Hashimoto's disease. A lot of people come to us with Hashimoto's. And we have 108 autoimmune diseases. There's 108 autoimmune diseases, and incidence are increasing dramatically. And one of the things that leading this increase is it's a super sanitized lifestyle. So in fact, that we are killing off our microbes. We're killing off the microbes that live in our gut. We live inside a very sterile environment. We eat highly processed foods. And people take a lot of medications, not just antibiotics, but acid blockers or non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs. We do have a number of clients. Right now, we have a client who was diagnosed with arthritis, and he was taking acid blockers for his acid reflux for years. And within only 30 days, since working with us, they reduced his steroid medication. He's off his acid blockers, and he's off his high blood pressure medication. And this shows that you can heal and get results in 30 days. So what is causing these autoimmune diseases? Again, the food that people are eating, processed foods, inflammatory that they're eating, this sanitized lifestyle that we're eating, very sterile environment, the pesticides, the medications that they're taking, everything, the artificial sweeteners, antidepressants can disturb the microbiome as well. So we are living in a way with our food and with our medications, with the environment that is leading to all of these autoimmune diseases. So that's why we help you heal the whole body when we work with you. We don't just focus on your gut. We don't just focus on your joints. We don't just focus on your skin. We focus on healing the whole body, which stops the disease from progressing. This is a really good diagram that I want to explain. And again, will help you address all your questions. Please continue posting your questions in the comments in the chat box. So you can also write down your questions. We'll take them at the end. So when we think about the gut microbiome imbalance and how it leads to diseases, a lot of these diseases have a genetic predisposition. But predisposition is just a suggestion. It doesn't mean that the disease is going to develop. That's what it means. You might have a predisposition to getting autoimmune disease. Most of you already have autoimmune disease, but remember that your genes will predispose you to something, but your diet and lifestyle will pull a trigger, whether or not the disease will manifest. And we can also have mutations that can increase the risk, but we have lifestyle. That's what we talk about: lifestyle, diet, smoking, alcohol, environment, stress, early colonization, whether you were born in hospital via C-section or you were born vaginally, also makes a difference. It actually alters the type of microbes that you're exposed to. And of course, medical practices where you're taking antibiotics when you were a child. And did you know, one thing I wanted to tell you, did you know that pediatrician, if you're more likely to take, if you want to take antibiotics, they're 67% more likely to prescribe it to you, or your child. But if you're against taking antibiotics, they're only 7% more likely to prescribe it to you. That's why if you have children, really work with your doctor to see if the antibiotics is really needed in the situation. So again, all of these different these factors can all lead to gut issues, disturbance of your microflora, your diet, and your lifestyle can guide us to disease or health depending on what our exposures have been. But remember, that's why epigenetics comes in. You probably have heard this term many times. You can trigger and untrigger your genes for disease. And I think I have it in presentation where they have done studies with, this is actually the next slide, where they have done studies where literally your genes can change. Your gene can get exposed, triggered or untriggered based on what you're eating. So summary: gut microbial imbalance, your lifestyle, your diet, your stress, your genetics, your medical practices, your antibiotics, and early colonization. So again, predisposition is just a suggestion, and that's the reason why we have people who had autoimmune diseases for 40 years are able to still get better, which means that you can still recover regardless how long have you've been sick. So most American children have had 18 courses of antibiotics by the time they even graduate high school. And here's a study that was done several years ago. It was published in the journal Nature in 2014. And the study shows that diet rapidly and reproducibly alters the human gut microbiome. And why I love the study is that we know that if you eat differently, your microbiome will look differently. Like I said, it's not just taking probiotics. Everybody's who's in this class probably taking probiotics, but you're still dealing with autoimmune diseases. So this was the study that was done by Harvard researchers in Boston, and they took nine volunteers and they put them first on the Atkins diet, which is basically beef, eggs, and they put them on this diet for 5 days, and they looked at the microbiome, your bacteria before, during, and after. And then they rested them did not change the environment. The only thing that changed was their diet for a week or two. And then later, they put them on lots of tomatoes, bananas, more fruits and vegetables instead of the Atkins diet. And again, their microbiome changed. So if you have gut issues, if you can be sensitive to a lot of foods, and that's where we help you personalize your recovery plan. But basically, what's happening with the study is what was fascinating and unexpected is not only the bacteria change within 30 hours of the food hitting the gut, but also the genes also changed. So what this means is, let's say, and now it's Sunday. By the time if you eat something right now, by the time Tuesday comes, you can have a totally different bacteria in your gut just by what you're eating and feeding it. So, and your genes will change as well. There's a lot of different studies that we teach. We show that we teach that with our clients, and they found in the studies that within the dramatic shift in the in your microbes, due to the dramatic shift in the diet, there was also a dramatic shift in the genes. They were tuned down and off, which means that you can be born with a set of genes that predispose you. They predispose you to something, and based on how you eat and changing how you eat, you can prevent the disease from being expressed. And this is the most optimistic fact. And it's not just news, it's a fact, it's science, that you can literally turn your genes on and off for disease. There's many different studies like that we share with our clients in the course of 6 weeks, hours of education that we provide for them, because you want to learn not just to get better, but how to remain disease-free for life. Don't you want to learn that? So this is another study that was done in Montreal Neurological Institute, where they took 144 patients and they followed them for 34 years. 34 years is a long time, and therefore following to see what they were eating. So what they found, again, this is a really old study, and they put them on the low saturated fat. As you know, saturated fat, it has been banned from a lot of restaurants. Of course, it's highly inflammatory, and saturated fat is found in a lot of foods, even the paleo foods that people are eating, those paleo snacks people eat contain a lot of saturated fat. So again, they put them on just low saturated fat, 1 to 15 grams a day, and the progression of multiple sclerosis was stopped or reduced even with those who had advanced disease. So there was 70% reduction in the flare-ups, basically in the flares of the nervous system, and 95% total reduction of disease, and which remained, they remained disease free, or they saw 95% reduction for 16 years. And 80% of those patients who were consuming high saturated fat died from MS during that period, during the study. So again, now you know how saturated fat is inflammatory, and if you have been reducing it from your diet, you should be seeing, again, results if you're doing everything right within 30 days, not weeks. So when people eat a diet high in saturated fat, the blood vessels they get coated and they stick together and then clump. Basically, you see inflammation within the blood vessels, and that inflammation within blood vessels, it disturbs the blood-brain barrier, allowing the substances access to the nervous system that would not normally cross the barrier. So antibodies to food particles, your immune system makes these antibodies. Now that comes from the inflammation, it's attacking your myelin. So that's why MS, along with other autoimmune diseases, was a result of weakening of both of your blood vessels and your intestinal mucosa. So they're talking about in the study that you have inflammation in the body, inflammation in your gut, that leads to these autoimmune diseases, but as well as inflammation within the blood vessels, which ultimately leads to other problems like brain degeneration. If you're suffering with brain fog, this is how it all starts. So the National Health Service in the United Kingdom, they actually had money problem, and sooner or later they ran out of money because they had to treat all the sick people. And they noticed that MS patients who declined medications seem to be doing better than the ones who were on medications. So they went to the drug companies and they said, we'd like to propose paying you based on the efficacy rates of your drugs. So drug companies agreed to do this, and they called it the scheme. And you can read about this in the national, you can read about the multiple sclerosis risk sharing scheme, and you can read more about the study. But basically, patients who continue to say no to drugs, and some patients were medicated with the drugs, and at the end of the period, they looked at it, and patients taking the drugs were worse than the patients who didn't take it. And they remember that these patients, this is an old study, these patients weren't put on any type of diet, anything close to what we're doing with clients. Most people were just sent home to live their normal life, and probably were still eating terribly, like the patients who were taking the drugs. And the National Health Service said that now that actually the patients who took the drugs were worse than the patients who didn't. And the National Health Service said that you owe us money because now they have the sick people that they have to take care of. And the drug company, of course, they refused to pay the NHS, and they refused to pay. And you could follow the story in the British Medical Journal for a good time when they fought over what to do, and it never got resolved. And this was the conclusion. It's really important to read that when you start looking at what the most independent medical research organizations said, that the use of the best drugs that we have available, which cost about $56,000 a year for an average patient, have absolutely no effect. And the same number of people will be disabled, they're going to be in a wheelchair, bedridden, or dead at the end of the period of the time. So this is really makes a really compelling case for nutrition, don't you think? Don't you think that changing your diet, learning how to change your diet, making it work for you is going to give you a much better chance at not only feeling better, but also being able to reduce or even avoid these medications? We see people who have 7 autoimmune diseases, 7. We started with psoriasis when they were kids, and then it became lupus, and then it became Hashimoto's. And that's why we're so passionate about what we're doing here. So the bottom line is autoimmune diseases are a result of poor diet and lifestyle habits, which can lead to things like high estrogen levels, leaky gut, molecular mimicry, chronic infections, or chronic inflammation, allergies, and asthma. And if we change these things, so we can change the outcome. And you can keep more autoimmune diseases from developing. And we, like I said, we see people with 7 or 8 autoimmune diseases that started when they were in grade school, with a small patch of psoriasis that turns into another autoimmune disease, and it goes on and on and off. And if your functional doctor is not taking care of you, if or your nutritionist, if you're working with someone, they're not taking care of you, they're not helping you become symptom-free in 30 days, they should not be taking on more clients. And are you submitting your daily meals or your symptoms to them every single day? And are they helping you problem solve the issues that you're facing in your healing? Are they educating you on how to remain disease-free? Are they telling you exactly what to eat and how much, and what's triggering your inflammation? Or are they just telling you follow AAP diet and come back to me 3 months from now? You can see majority of our clients becoming symptom-free in 2 weeks and staying disease-free after that. This is just a few of them. We do have hundreds of results, but I want to define some of the terminology. What is prebiotic? Prebiotic is basically what you're eating. So again, dietary fiber is very good for you and your gut bacteria and your health. What you're eating is a prebiotic. And this is a type of specialized fiber that supports the beneficial microbes that live in your gut. This is a prebiotic, is what you eat. And the prebiotic, it's the prebiotic that comes from food is always going to be superior to any supplement that you ever take. So that's why you can't just take your supplements or your prebiotic or probiotic supplements and then go ahead and eat pizza and think that you fed your bacteria right. So again, whatever they put on the label, eating the actual food is going to be far superior at helping you heal your body than any supplement that you can ever take. And that's what prebiotic means, what you're eating. And the probiotic is alive organisms, and that when ingested confers a benefit to the host. And that's a World Health Organization definition. So the definition of probiotics is alive organisms that confers the benefit to your host. However, what we see with a lot of these probiotics on the shelf is that bacteria in them is dead. So the bacteria is dead, so it does not always confer the benefit to you. And when you take that, so the same thing, you should not be eating yogurt for your probiotics. If anybody's here eating yogurt for probiotics, you might as well just stop that completely. So the prebiotic is a food that gets fermented by bacteria, your probiotics that live in your gut. And the bacteria and the microbes in your gut, they produce postbiotics. And these short-chain fatty acids, they're beneficial to your health. And short-chain fatty acids are the only postbiotics, referring to the bacteria byproducts that affect a range of physiological processes. Because what we realize that it's not only not what bacteria are growing, but also what they're making, and they can change. So certain strains of bacteria can shift based on what you're eating. Again, what you're eating, what you're feeding your bacteria, they can change what it's metabolizing, whether it's metabolizing things that are gonna get you sicker, or whether it's metabolizing things that are gonna get you healthier. So this is what I want to explain in this class, in this slide. And this is a conclusion from the article in the Mayo Clinic Proceedings from 2014. And what it told us that the greater microbial diversity is associated with better ability to deal with stressors like pathogens. And they told us that individuals with diseases are more likely to have alterations in the gut microbes. So, and low diversity. So individuals with disease are more likely to have disruptions in the gut microbiome. And what does the greater microbial diversity and richness come from? It comes from the food. How do you get more richness and more diversity in your microbes that live in your gut? Is from the food that you're eating. So if you're taking acid blockers, they can decrease stomach acid and disturb the natural pH in the gut. That's why we don't recommend to drink any type of alkaline water, because it's disturbing the pH in your stomach. your food itself will create the right type of pH in your gut, in your body. You do not need to be drinking alkaline water, and that's a problem. If you take antibiotics, that's a problem. So again, taking these medications will cause the disturbances in your gut. And remember that also children's microbiome is very sensitive to the effect of drugs. That's why don't medicate your kids unless you know it's necessary. Work with your doctor about that. That's why there's a gray zone when it comes to antibiotics, whether they're really necessary. And you have a chance not just against COVID, but other viral pandemics that are going to happen. And autoimmune disease, obesity, allergies, and you need to learn how to maintain the type of lifestyle that's going to help you not only become disease-free or symptom-free, but also remain disease-free for life. So that's why, that's what I want to talk about in this presentation. And so gut microbes can also predict severe COVID-19. So this is a study from last year, and it showed that the most reliable predictor of outcome, death after COVID, was your microbiome. It was more accurate than your age, whether you have heart disease, lung disease, whether you have autoimmune disease, whether you have high inflammation markers. It was more predictive than all of this was the health of your gut, the health of your bacteria. So what they found in the study is the composition of the microbe predicted your severe respiratory symptoms and death with 92% accuracy. So what was the two main things? That they found high levels of one of the bad bacteria correlated with poor outcome. And again, people having this high levels of bad bacteria, whether it's medications, whether the food that you're eating is feeding the bad bacteria, and they had low levels of the good bacteria, which correlated with good outcome. That's why I'm telling you that is so important when it comes to feeding your microbes properly. That's what I want to talk about in this class. And let me address the questions at this point. And again, those of you who are looking to get a help, our next opening is in January. You can go to Autoimmune Cellular Healing to book your call with us to talk about your specific case, to see how we can help you reverse your disease and teach you how to be able to not need the medications, get healthy enough. We do have 7 spots left for January opening, and this is how you can do is schedule a call with us. But I do want to take the time to take questions. We actually went over 40 minutes for this call, and let me open up the question box, and I'm going to check in the Facebook group to see if anybody's questions. You can ask me. Nicole said about Hashimoto's, her son has chronic fatigue.